pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us bow here. Father God, we thank you for another opportunity to come and meet as town councilors, as we work together, as we commune together, as we pray together, as we use your wisdom to help us to help our fellow man, our town, and our country. We ask your blessings upon us that we make the right decision in your favor. We ask that you will continue to bless the mayor, bless the town manager, bless the town manager to come. Help him, Lord, and encourage him, and guide us that we be one in thought, in mind, in communications, in doing the work of the town. We ask your blessing upon each and every one in the town. Help us to solve the COVID-19 problem. Protect us and guide us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Poole. The next thing on our agenda is to approve the minutes of our special meeting on July the 29th, August the 16th, and our regular meeting of August the 16th. Do we have a motion to approve those, or?
So moved. Second, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all those in favor of the meeting, please say aye.
Aye.
And those opposed likewise? Motion carried. Okay. All right, the next thing we have is the text amendment to a Unified Development Ordinance issue, and Elizabeth Bryan is with us on Zoom tonight, and we also welcome Dale Holland and Cindy Anderson with the Insight Planning. But Elizabeth, we'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I apologize for not being able to be with y'all tonight. I especially wanted to be there to say thank you to Mr. Holland, Dale Holland, and I think it's fitting that he is here for Anne Marie's second to last town council meeting. Dale has been a friend to Anne Marie and myself and the town of Edenton for a number of years, and has just done phenomenal work for us, and I'm just really thankful for the time that we got to work together. He also has Cindy Anderson with him tonight, who is a part of his team, but also the new team moving forward with Insight Planning. And Dale, I just want to assure you, based on Cindy's work and Chris's work and all the work of your team, that your reputation that you established with Holland Consulting Planners is going to continue to be just fabulous in the world of North Carolina planning. So thank you so much for all the work you've done for us. And moving to our text amendment, you all have received the massive document. You will note that it's quite the editing job on our Unified Development Ordinance. We underwent this edit in response to a comprehensive update of the North Carolina general statutes that pertain to planning, both in municipalities and counties. And we were lucky enough to have Dale and Cindy help us through that process. So what you see is basically the entire document edited and brought up to date. I know that all of you understand why it's important for the town of Edenton's regulations to be in concordance with the North Carolina general statutes. Not only do we want to reflect what state law is, but it also protects the town should any of our planning and zoning decisions be challenged in court. Other than that, I just want to let you guys know that the town planning board reviewed and approved unanimously the recommended updates at their August meeting. This text amendment has been duly advertised. You are seeing it in a month that is not your typical month for text amendments. And the reason for that is mainly because of the timing of the edits and the need to advertise for your public hearing. So other than that, I would just welcome Dale and Cindy and ask if you have any questions of any of us.
I just want to say thank you too to Cindy and Dale. That was a lot of hard work put in to revising this document. And you got to be a pretty tough person to spend all that time in that revision process. And I thank them for all they've done.
Well, may I take this off while I'm up here? Then I'll put it right back on. Thank you. My glasses fog up, and that it works better if I can see. This young lady right here deserves a tremendous amount of credit, because after I got through writing all over the ordinance as it was, she took it and formatted it and got it in the condition that it's in. So she deserves as much, if not more, credit than our insight planning. And I want to thank Elizabeth for her kind remarks. We would not be here tonight with this draft had it not been for the input and support that we got from your town staff, being Elizabeth and Anne Marie. And that's the way it's always been in Edenton. Edenton is one of those places that we work, that when we go to Edenton, everything works, or if there's a problem, the attitude is, well, what do we do to straighten out the problem? And that makes Edenton a real jewel in the world of consulting, because you folks have been supportive and cooperative and have laid the foundation to get us where we are on the revisions to the ordinance this evening, and we do appreciate it. I'd like to just take a minute to explain, and if you're not aware of this, why we're here tonight and what brought us to this point. About, I guess now, starting 6 years ago, the legislature, the North Carolina Bar Association, the North Carolina chapter of the American Planning Association, the League of Municipalities, the Association of Counties, and a number of individual counties and municipalities were complaining about the condition of the statutes at that time that dealt with regulation of land use control in North Carolina. At that time, we had one set of statutes for the municipalities and another set of statutes for the counties. They weren't always consistent in what their expectations were, which led to some unavoidable conflicts sometimes. The statutes were very confusing in some cases of what was expected or required. The statutes allowed some things to exist that created confusion across the state. For example, under the old statutes, the term conditional use permit and special use permit could be used interchangeably. And so we had some ordinances that had both of those things in the ordinance, which was the case with the Edenton ordinance. And it just across the state created confusion. So after multiple years of discussion and debate, all of those groups that I mentioned actually came together and agreed on something. I found that in and of itself astounding, that the legislature and the league and everybody agreed this is what we need to do, and therein is the result is 160D, which is now the reference to the planning ordinances in North Carolina that govern or regulate land use control. The changes in response to that we've made to your ordinance don't change anybody's zoning. We've not rezoned any property. We've not changed anybody's front, rear, and side yard setbacks. We haven't changed any of those local controls. What is at play in this is process and procedure and some definitions of terms that were mandated in 160D. To give you an example of the definition of terms, under the old statutes, there were multiple, I don't have any idea how many there were, definitions of a dwelling unit across the state of North Carolina. What was a dwelling unit in Lizard Lick might not have been a dwelling unit in the city of Greenville or in the town of Edenton. So the statutes changed that to say that a dwelling unit is whatever is defined in the state building code, period. So if no matter where you are in a county or municipality in North Carolina, that's the definition. So that's an example of the definition changes that I am referring to. There were, before I say that, let me mention that there were 32 major specific changes in dictated by 160D that weren't elected, that municipalities and counties had to make to be consistent with the new state statute. Now, there are more than 32 changes in this draft ordinance, but what it is, it's the result of a domino effect. So if we change something, let's say a definition, then we got to go back through the ordinance and change all the places that old definition may have come into play to make sure we're consistent. So we have actually more than the 32 changes I mentioned, but they are all the result of these 33 core changes, which are divided into 3 categories: general ordinance changes, zoning, and subdivision. So that's how all of these changes play out. Now, I'm going to say something which I don't intend to sound abrupt, but we've said this to everybody where we've had a public hearing. I'll be happy to go through all these changes with you. But if I do, we're going to be here a while. So the safest thing I can say, and I have yet to run across a local government attorney that disagreed with what I'm about to say, you don't have a choice if you want to comply with the state statutes. You've got to adopt these changes, or something that says basically what we've said. So you're the next. We're doing 9 of these now. Anne Marie, Cindy told me they have another small town that came in the door. So you're the next to the last of the 9 ordinances that we've done. And if you elect to adopt this tonight, it will bring a sigh of relief. But if anybody have any questions?
Is there a time period that everyone's is to be in total compliance with the revisions?
Sir?
Is there a time period?
Oh, well, the revisions were supposed to be done by July 1st of this year. There are more counties and municipalities that didn't make that deadline than did. In fact, I mentioned one other small town that we're going to help. Well, they just contacted us and asked us to help them. So we've still got people out there in North Carolina that are thinking about this. Now, the state's not going to penalize those people. They're not going to levy any fines. But what will happen is if somebody, a petitioner, goes into a community that hasn't updated their ordinance and they ask to do something that's allowed under 160D process or procedure, but the town says, no, you can't do that, and they decide to take you to court, you're going to lose. I'll give you an example of how that comes into play. Under 160D, the state has recognized, has legitimized conditional zoning. What I mean by conditional zoning is that if somebody wants to do something in your planning jurisdiction and it's not allowed in your ordinance, they may come in to the town, they go to Elizabeth's office and negotiate a new zoning district. That has to be elective on the part of the petitioner. And then if the town decides to entertain their idea, it becomes a negotiating process. So that may be 1, 2, 5 lots involved, and you basically, in concert with that petitioner, create a new zoning district. And that new zoning district and the regulations in it will be attached to the land through deed restrictions. And once somebody stands up in that hearing for that conditional zoning permit and says what they're going to do, and you move forward and approve it, they're bound to it forever. It's attached to the land unless they come back and give an amendment to that zoning district. I think that's potentially a useful tool for the petitioner and for the town. But up until now, it has not been, as I said, legitimized under the state statutes. That's an example of what I'm talking about. If somebody walked in the door tomorrow and you didn't have conditional use zoning in your ordinance, you'd have to amend the ordinance if they were going to take you to court, because you'd lose if you didn't have it in here. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay.
One question on that. So now we no longer have conditional use permits, it's all special use permits.
Well,
Right.
what we've done is all of the uses that were conditional uses under your old ordinance, we have made them major special uses.
Okay.
Elizabeth deserves credit for that because she called me and told me this was a concern for the town, that the council would lose control over conditional use permits. And she took the initiative and called the Institute of Government, and basically, tell me, Elizabeth, if I'm misquoting, they told her, look, don't worry about it, just make special use permits and major special use permits. So we haven't changed anything except the name.
Maybe this is a question for Elizabeth. So we have special use permits and we have a major special use permits that go to the planning board and minor special use permits that go to the board of adjustment. Is that correct?
Major special
So what we
use.
have, we've tried to replicate what we have right now, which is special, pardon me, sorry, it's chaotic here. We've tried to replicate what we have currently.
Tell John Be quiet.
My apologies.
It's okay.
1 second. So we've tried to replicate what we have currently. So special use permits, the minor special use permit will still go to the Board of Adjustment. The major special use permits will be as what the conditional use permit is now. So the planning board will give initial review, make a recommendation, and then the town council will hear that final public hearing on the major special use permit.
But it's
Hope
clear.
that clears it up.
It's easy to determine which one is major and which one is minor, right?
So what we did, what Dale and Cindy did, is we went through our table of uses. So everywhere that we had a special use permit, and that might be a beauty salon in a neighborhood commercial zoning district. We felt like that, under our current ordinance, we felt like, and we still feel like that is a lower level of review than, say, a major shopping center. So they went through our table of uses, and everything that had been a special use permit is now a minor special use permit. And everything that had been a conditional use permit requiring council
Okay.
review, like that major shopping center or major subdivision, is now a major special use permit. So it still will go to the planning board and town council for ultimate action.
Elizabeth, the capital M on the permissible uses, is that a major?
Major.
Major? Okay.
And the minor just has a Z. It's-
Okay, minor has a Z, okay.
Yeah. So we,
The minor is just an S.
I'm sorry, an S.
Okay.
All we've changed is the name.
Okay.
We haven't changed anything else. And these changes don't affect anything you've already acted on and approved. Those all prior actions are grandfathered in. Any other questions?
I've got a question of Anne Marie, just internally and administratively, do we hold a vote to allow the application for the text amendment, then open up a public hearing, and then actually vote on the new ordinance? Is that the procedure that we follow?
Yes, so thank you for reminding us that our ordinance only allows you all to amend 4 times a year, except for emergencies. And this needs to be adopted so that we can be compliant, and so we're asking you to exercise that. So we recommend that you do take that action first.
I would make a motion in light of the deadline that has already passed, that under the emergency exception, that council vote to allow the application for the text amendment.
Second, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Do we have to have a public hearing before we actually vote on this, Anne Marie? Or?
So
We vote on that. The motion is to allow the application and have a public hearing. We have a public hearing, then we vote on the ordinance, as I understand it.
Okay, all right.
yes.
Thank you.
Deadline.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Now we have the public hearing.
You can open the public hearing. I don't think we have any members of the public here. Steve will check in the
Okay.
overflow room. But I think for the record, Mayor, you're gonna need to call the public hearing to order, open the public hearing, and if there are no comments, then you can close the public
Okay.
hearing.
Okay, well, the public hearing open. He's gonna let us know in a minute if we got anybody back there. I don't think we do. Okay, nobody there? Okay, so we'll just go ahead and close the public hearing. Okay, now we need a motion to actually adopt the ordinances.
So move, Mayor.
Okay, we have a motion,
Second.
we have a motion and a second to adopt the text amendments as presented. Elizabeth, did you have anything else that you needed to add to what Dale has told us, or?
No, sir, just thank y'all for your patience with home life with boys.
Hey, Elizabeth, was that an adult boy that you're referring to?
Not this time, not this time.
That sounds like John. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the adoption of the text amendment? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We have the ordinance approved. Okay. Thank you, Dale.
Thank you all.
Dale, thank you.
Thank you for all your hard work, really.
Thank y'all.
Cindy, thank you as well. Okay, now we'll move on to our committee reports. And the first one is our administrative committee, and that's chaired by Councilman Hyde.
Thank you, Mayor Stallings. The administrative committee just wanted to give an update on the Confederate monument issue. And I think council is aware of this, and I see we've got a number of people joining us by Zoom. But just to clarify for the general public, there's not going to be any substantive discussion on the Confederate monument tonight. The administrative committee met last week and will also meet later this week. And what we're meeting is the process for how we are going to move forward with reviewing and deciding upon the Human Relations Commission's report that they have given to us. And as a part of that process, I have requested Ms. Knighton to provide me some of the historical documentation that the Human Relations Commission relied upon. I think it's important for the council to see that historical information. She is in the process of gathering that for us, and the administrative committee also thought it would be important for us to meet with our attorney and ask him questions about how we move forward and what the legal ramifications are of the commission's recommendation and any other options that might be available. To that end, Ms. Knighton has contacted Hood Ellis, and he has indicated that his schedule is open and available to meet with us at our next committee meeting in approximately 2 weeks. So the administrative committee will continue to update council on our progress. I know many people are interested in a timeline and have asked me that. We certainly don't want to sit on the issue, and at the same time, we're not going to rush the issue. We have set an internal goal of hoping to have everything together for us within 60 days or so for council to have a full discussion and full vote on the matter. And that's all we have to report at this point in time.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman Hyde. We appreciate that a lot. All right, we're moving forward to our finance committee, and that's chaired by Councilman Dixon.
Okay, we've got several things on here that we went over at our last meeting. First, it's recommended that the council adopt a resolution approving the financing terms for the automatic water meter reader project as presented. And I'll put that's going to save us a lot of money, I think, in the end, and really help the public with their water leaks and everything else. So I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? I've talked to Corey about this, and he's very excited about it and thinks that's the way we should go. So, any discussion at all? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The second thing we've got on tonight is it's recommended that the council adopt a budget amendment to the improvements to the water treatment plant capital project ordinance as we presented and as we talked about in our last meeting, and I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
And the last thing we have on is recommended for the council to adopt a capital project ordinance for Daedalus Yachts Building Reuse Grant as presented. We went over all these figures, and people asked questions at the last meeting, so I'll put that in the form of a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
That is all we have on the finance committee.
Okay, and the next is the Public Works Committee, and that's chaired by Councilman Miller.
Mayor, we only have one item of business. It's recommended that council authorize the town manager to work with the town attorney to acquire 119 West 6th Street as presented. Mayor, as presented at the August 23rd committee meeting, Terry Jones, an Edenton citizen, is very interested in selling his 7/10 of an acre presently at 119 West Hicks Street, across the street from the Public Works building. Mr. Jones wishes to sell the parcel of land at its current tax value of $10,060. Currently, public work employees are utilizing the property as an employee parking lot. Mayor, I make a motion that we authorize the town manager to work with the town attorney to acquire the 119 West Hicks Street property.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Just a question, Councilman Miller, as I understand it, it's owned by, Mr. Jones. We're using it as kind of an overflow parking,
That's correct.
out of the kindness of his heart,
Yes.
and we're not paying him anything for it. It's certainly something that we could use,
Definitely,
because
definitely.
we are using it.
We definitely need that. We probably could use some more property over there. Is that correct?
That's
Corey?
correct.
Yeah,
Anything further?
that's it, Mayor. That's all we
All
have.
right. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, that takes care of our committee reports, and the next is new business. And we have a resolution, a grant application, asset inventory and assessment for sanitary sewer system and water and sewer rate study. And Corey, I'll call on you for that if I may.
All right, so this application is for the asset inventory and sanitary sewer system rate study. And also with that, part of this application would include the analysis of our most recent I&I improvement, to take a look at what improvements that we've seen from that project that we are in the process of finishing. And this is something that we need to have in by October to meet the timeline with the state requirements.
Do we need a motion for that?
We do.
I move that the town enter into such a resolution.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. And the next is a resolution appointment of North Carolina Eastern Municipal Power Agency Board of Commissioners. And I'll call on Ms. Knighton for that, please.
Yes, Mayor, one of the duties that the council assigned to me, to the town manager, is to serve as the council's voting member, to be referred to as the commissioner, on the North Carolina Eastern Municipal Power Agency Board. And you know that is the entity which the town purchases our wholesale power from. And this board meets about 6 times a year, normally in Wilson. And in addition to looking after the power agency business, it's a great opportunity. There are 31 or 32 members altogether. And so there's an opportunity for the managers to network, to meet each other, to build relationships. And I think it will be a terrific opportunity for Corey to network within the eastern region with other managers and utility directors. And so this resolution would formally appoint Corey to that board.
Okay.
Mayor, I make a motion we adopt the resolutions to appoint
Okay.
Corey to that board.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carried. We should have appointed Corey about a year ago, Emery, so you could have been adopted in all this stuff. Okay. The next, we have a resolution appointment to Deputy Finance Officer, and I'll call on Ms. Knighton for that again.
Sure, and this is a continuation of some of the duties that the the council has delegated to the manager. In the absence of the finance officer, the deputy finance officer is authorized to sign checks. But you need to have a resolution officially appointing the town manager to be the deputy finance officer. And, so we've prepared that resolution so that you can appoint Corey.
Any discussion on that? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move we adopt this resolution.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Corey's getting a bunch of extra
He's
duties
gonna be a busy
today.
man. It all comes natural with Anne Marie, but he's gonna be a busy man. Okay, the next is the resolution appointment of town clerk, and I'll call Ms. Knighton for that as well.
Yes, Mayor, and it has historically been in Edenton, the town manager also serves as the town clerk. And Corey and I, in our orientation and talking about the transition, I suggested that he give that some thought and maybe something that he wants to look at down the road, where he would recommend that a separate person or somebody within the organization possibly be appointed to that position. But to give him the time to do his analysis, you need a clerk. Tammy serves as the deputy clerk and is authorized to sign documents in the absence of the town clerk. But recommend, just to kind of keep things moving along, that you appoint Corey as the clerk. But don't be surprised if down the road he recommends changing that.
All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved, Mayor.
We have a motion, do we have a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? And Corey, you can't discuss it. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carried. All right, the next item on the agenda is items that are considered timely and important. Does anybody up here have anything that they want to share with the rest of the group? Yes, sir.
Just one minor thing, Mayor. Emery, any update on the uplighting of the trees down here?
Yes, two things. One, the electric department was able to work with an electrician, and they were able to make repairs to a number of the lights that have been out of service. So hopefully, as the days get shorter and you're down here, you can see that improvement. And then last week, Tosh Tao, our landscape supervisor, and I met with the certified arborist from Virginia Beach area, who had done an assessment of the trees. Remember, we said we were concerned about investing in more lighting down there if the trees weren't going to make it. And he was fantastic. He spent about an hour with Tosh and I, and he gave Tosh some advice of some things that can be done in terms of trimming and pruning out some of the dead limbs, and then to do some, Corey, I'm drawing a blank. He wants us to try to do some aeration of the soils because it's been compacted because of so much flooding over the years. And then also recommended some soil samples, and in anticipation of what those results were, recommended some treatment. He thinks those trees have more life, more years to give, and so that will enable us to do more uplighting. And he thinks his concern about wrapping trees at the trees for that age, he said it would be a maintenance nightmare, and really focus on uplighting there. And then also, Mike Nichols reported that they were gonna do some trimming around the trees in the playground to help improve the existing lighting that's already in place. And then he's trying to figure out a way to do something in this area to help add lighting. So we're making progress. Long report, but we did follow up on what we said we would do.
And I'm sure Katie Shook would be happy to help us with the health of the trees as well. She's good at that. Anyone else up here?
Mayor, just one more thing, and I forgot to ask Ms. Knight to add this to the agenda, but on the Young Folks Committee, I am going to be getting together with the persons that expressed an interest in that and setting up an introductory meeting. And I would like for that group to be self-led with a little bit of guidance from me, and a staff liaison. And at one time, Ms. Knighton and I talked about Corey Gooden being that staff liaison, and now he has a new position. And so we tossed about the name of Bud Powell, and I know Bud is, I think he would be great at it. He is about my age, and so he doesn't fit the definition of a young folk, but he has two sons who love Edenton, and I think would like to come back to Edenton one time. And Bud is always talking, he's an ideas man, he's always talking, hey, have you thought about this, has the town thought about that? And so I think he would do a good job. So Bud and I will get together with Anne Marie before she leaves and try to set up an initial meeting of that group. And, you know, I want it to be self-led. I want it to be their group with our assistants there when they need us. And so we'll work on, we got a lot of things on our plate right now, but we'll work on trying to get that set up.
Okay, is anybody else?
I want to follow to, similar to Councilman Hyde, to see if we could go ahead and get on the agenda the interviewing of the members of the mayor's task force on litter control and the environment, and get that off the ground, get it moving. We talked about having people come in for interviews, maybe prior to one of our meetings, and now's a good time to do that if we can.
Yes, we'll get that in motion, absolutely.
Anybody else?
One other thing. I emailed you this. You know, we have a 300th birthday coming up in Edenton next year, and I don't know if a group has been formed to look at how to celebrate that, but 1722 incorporated and named after Governor Eden. If nothing's been done, we ought at least begin to get some thought on how we might have some sort of celebration that would recognize 300 years of progress.
Yeah, it might be, Mayor, something that you would want to convene a meeting, invite the Tourism Development Authority Executive Director, representative from the State Historic Sites, Bob Hawkins, somebody from the Edenton Historical Commission, and the county. And, you know, everybody can come together and talk about possible ways that we could commemorate with events and a process to celebrate, because that is quite remarkable.
Because, you know, I remember when they did the 250, and they had, I think I gave you one of those coins. They had these coins made, and we, as a child, we had to do live scenes in the windows. So I can remember sitting in the window, you know, getting out of school and getting to go sit in the window dressed up in a colonial costume. So, I mean, it was a big deal. I was in Mr. Hodowski's window, which was really a bad store. I guess I was 9 years old.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, you were here then. I mean, you remember that?
I'm not that old.
You know, I guess I'm the only one in the room that was here. But we had the entire school system got out and everybody stayed in windows all, you know, up downtown. It was great.
Anyone else? And Emily, I don't think we have any people that public.
No.
Okay. All right, if that's it, we'll accept the motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Ah.
Aye.
Adjourn.